Hey everybody, it's Monday. You know what that means. It's Modified Monday. I missed you guys last week. It was Labor Day, and so I figured we should be not laboring and like doing fun things and safely having a cookout or whatever it is that you were doing. Hey Bishop on Bedford. Hi guys, missed y'all. Hey everybody, welcome to Modified. This is episode number 8. That's really exciting. This is 8. And today my special guest, hey Baltimore. Today, hey Martina and Allie, hey Vaughn. Today my special guest is from the DMV. I've known her since I was 4 years old, and she is a pediatrician, and we're going to be talking about being a doctor, particularly during this time when people are more sick. How do we find joy when you got to take care of people? And when you take care of people for your job, then you have friends like me who call you all the time for free medical advice. So that can be also like a lot to take on. Thank you, Leah. My shirt is actually a dress, and it's from a program called Art Saves Lives that I volunteer in. Hi, Tia. Hey, Croatia. And it's one of the most amazing programs. Hey, Ben Williams just joined, and he made this song for me. Hi, Ben. Hey, Ben. I have my own theme song. I have to admit, that makes me feel very, very cool. I'm going to post who my guest is. Hey, Ben. I love you. I have to text you to get your schedule so you can be a guest on the MAUDCAST, because we got to talk music and joy, okay? You know? So today we're talking about health and joy. And when you are a healthcare provider, how do you stay joyful, particularly in harder times like the ones we're in now? So we're just going to wait for Gabrina to join. Hello, Mom. Can you please text Gabrina and tell her to join the live so I can call her in? Thanks. Hey, Talia E. My cousin's here from Chicago. Hey, girl. Hey, girl. How's Chicago? Hey, girl. Hi, everybody. So like I said, if you're just joining, this is the MAUDCAST. This is episode number 8. And today, hi, Connor. How are you? Today, my guest is Dr. Gabrina Dixon, who's a pediatrician and like my big sister, one of my best friends. So that's who we're going to be talking to today. We're learning lots of cool things about health and, hey, Isaiah, how we can take care of each other and all of that good stuff. I'm just going to loop my song while I wait for her. I hope everybody's been having a good week. I'm in LA, so it's been like really foggy and hazy. Thanks, Connor. Team Ritual. Hey guys, really exciting. And once it's out, we're gonna do a MAUDCAST about it. But Chloe and I are partnering up with Ritual, which is an awesome wellness app. And we are going to be doing a whole series about joy and movement. So I hope that you join that. When that comes out, when it's available, I'm going to be interviewing one of the founders of Ritual, and then you have to join because there's a lot of other cool stuff too. Hi, Michael. Oh, Gabrina's here. My guest is here. We're going to call her in now. Gabrina. Hey, Ava. Hi. It's so crazy, guys. My students are on here, old students. And hey, Gabrina. I see your chair, but I don't see you. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me for the 8th MAUDCAST. You are also my first doctor on the MAUDCAST. And you know, Rashida likes to call you Dr. Love.
Dr. Love. I should have worn red for like Dr. Love.
My red today was, so this Art Saves Lives, which remember you came to St. Martin, this is their dress. So she has dresses now, and they're like for a fundraiser.
Oh, great. We have to put a link to that. Art Saves Lives is so beautiful.
It's like the best. So Gabrina, let me introduce you. So everybody, welcome. This is Dr. Gabrina Dixon. Welcome to the MAUDCAST. I've known Gabrina since I was 4 years old. Wow. That is 3 decades of friendship, of sisterhood. We grew up tap dancing together, dancing together. We'll get into the details of that in a bit. And then Gabrina was always very smart. She comes from a family of geniuses. Everybody is smart. Her sister's smart, her mom's smart, her dad's smart, her brother's smart. It's a family of cool nerds with a lot of stuff.
Yes. I love it. I love it.
Y'all are like the original Black STEM family. You know, like seriously, we have to talk about that in a bit. And then Gabrina went on to University of Pennsylvania, which is an Ivy League. So check that, Black excellence. And then she went to Howard Medical School, where now she also is an educator, and she is a physician in Washington, D.C. at a hospital. She's a hospitalist, and she'll explain that to us in a bit. So, Gabrina, welcome to the MAUDCAST. So my first question always is, what is your favorite non-alcoholic drink of choice that makes you happy?
This is so simple, but so needed. It really is water, because I say that when you work in a hospital and you're always moving, everything is like, has to be fast. So you have to like figure out when you're going to eat, figure out when you're going to drink. And so water is so key. It's a very simple thing, but it keeps you so hydrated. And yes. So I will say water is my favorite. Actually, not alcoholic drink is water.
You know what's funny, Gabrina, is I thought you were going to say water.
Really? Because we know each other too well. Like,
we know each other so well, because we always talk about, like, when we're like, we're drinking a gallon a day, or, you know, the first thing when we don't feel well is like, did we drink enough water?
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's very simple.
Oh, Leo wants to know, does flavor water count to hydrate?
Yes, but it depends on what type of flavored water, because some of it has a lot of sugar content. But what I would say, if you want to flavor water, use natural things, lemon, lime, mint, things that are natural to flavor your water. But there are things that you can add, but it does sometimes, some of them just has a lot of sugar, so you just have to be careful of that. But flavored water counts to me. It counts. Get your water.
It's better than like a soda, right?
Right, correct.
I love that. So, Dr. Gabrina, when I was like pre-introducing you on here, I was, you know, right now we're in COVID, quarantine. I think people are increasingly becoming like hypochondriacs, and like there's this like veil of fear over everybody. And you work in a hospital and you save people's lives all the time. So like sickness is not something that really, like it's not new to you, like being around people who are sick or hearing about sickness. So what would you say to anybody who's maybe feeling like afraid right now, or feeling like they can't do anything? What would you say to them? And particularly because we know we have a lot of young people on here, you know, their parents might be scared. What would you say?
I think it's natural to have a fear. We have a virus, a pandemic, that us as physicians, we are learning about it. So you see all this new information. What we do know that works, simple things, a mask and social distance. Another thing I always say, if people just don't feel comfortable wearing a mask, you can also put a mask with a face shield. So I would not just wear a face shield. If I wear a face shield, I would do a mask with a face shield. We found that if I'm wearing a mask and face shield, and Maud, you are wearing a mask and face shield, and we are outside and we're social distancing, you really cannot get the virus that way. It's very hard to. Yeah. So it's like if people were compliant with wearing masks, doing masks with face shield, and everyone was doing that, it would be a lot easier and the virus wouldn't spread as much. However, unfortunately, not everybody's compliant. And so that's where viruses, you know, are spreading. And so the key people who we get concerned about are those with underlying conditions. And so certain underlying conditions include like asthma, diabetes, heart disease. Those are the people we are really, really concerned about. Kids actually normally do well with the virus. The key thing with kids is that they carry the virus. So they have no symptoms, but will have COVID, and they end up spreading it to other people. And so what I always say is, because everyone always asks me, working in a hospital, don't you get, afraid to get the virus? I said, actually, I feel safer in the hospital than out in the community, because in the hospital, everyone has masks on, and most of us wear face shields. And so we don't spread it to each other. But when we go out into the community, not everybody, are compliant. And so I think, mental health is also just as important as physical health as going outside. And so I think doing stuff outside, social distancing, and also wearing a mask everywhere you go can save lives.
Did you, before COVID, as a doctor, did you wear a mask in the hospital or no?
Yes, for certain patients. So not every patient I had to wear a mask for, but for patients for certain viruses, well, most viruses, we usually wear a mask because we see, multiple patients. So we want to protect our patients and then also protect ourselves. So yes, I did wear a mask, but it's not with every patient like I do now. I have to wear a mask with every single patient that I see. We actually have to wear a mask and either goggles or a face shield with every patient that we see.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing because, of course, I was one of those people, too, who was like, are you scared going in the hospital? Because, usually that is, the hospitals have so many germs because people are sick there. But you're right about everybody is required to wear the mask so you feel safer. So
and what found, people aren't going to the hospital that need to go. So if you are ill and you feel like you need to go, I always say call your primary care physician. And then if you need to go, just wear your mask, tell when you first get in there. See that they have social distancing. They have everyone's wearing masks, everyone compliant, because we want you to get the treatment that you need.
So Dr. Gabrina, what are some activities that you're doing outside and that you're doing to just stay balanced, like mental health wise? Because your job is very heavy during this time, and we're about to go into the fall, which I know is regular flu season. Kids get sick because kids be sick. How do you balance? Because I think that oftentimes we look at people who are not doctors, and if you agree with this in the chat, please, say yes or no. I look at doctors like superheroes. Like, especially when I was a kid, my doctor never got sick. They were always there when I was there. They always just seemed like, I'm fine. And, little did I know they had a real life. But we look at doctors like superheroes. So how, as a superhero, are you taking time to be joyful and mental health balance?
I think it's so important. I think as doctors, we kind of go. And especially with this pandemic, because our job is to save lives. And we take honor in doing that, and we love doing that. We love the work that we do. And so, to be honest, there was a time before COVID, I had a great balance. I used to travel a lot. I did a lot of things. But when COVID hit, it put restrictions on things that, I was able to do, because I can't travel right now because I have patients, and in certain places I can't go because in this area it's like a mandatory 14-day quarantine. And so I have patients to take care of, so I can't mandatory 14-day quarantine. So what has been a beauty about this COVID, because I know it's hard, is I found places in this DC area that I haven't been to do. And then I also started bike riding. Well, I've always bike rode, but I'm bike riding more because I want to be outside and I want to breathe and I want to do things. And so I've been exploring areas in DC, Maryland, Virginia that I have never been to, because for me right now I can't travel because of my patients. So.
Do you see how many people are calling you a superhero in the chat? I love it. And also, how do you find balance? What's amazing, because I've been to, many doctors in my life, and some have been wonderful. Like my pediatrician growing up was like the best. His name was Dr. Kaiko. He's from the Philippines. He was like the nicest, sternest man. I loved him, and I loved his whole family was doctors. A brilliant family like your family too. But then I've also been to doctors who were not nice, and who I could tell it was a little bit of racism, a little bit of sexism, the way that I was spoken to, the way that I was treated. So what would you say to somebody if they went to the doctor or a hospital and they felt like they weren't being listened to, or they felt like they were being disregarded? How do you handle that in that situation?
So health disparities are facts. We know that happens. Some people aren't listened to for a variety of reasons, and we have health disparities. You have to be your own advocate. If you feel as though you aren't being heard, there are a lot of avenues within a facility that people just don't know about, what I'm realizing that you can do, because like, you know, your voice should be heard. A hospital, a doctor's office, it's a system, and every system has checks and balances. So for example, if you go to a hospital and you feel like, hey, you know what, I keep saying this, I feel like they're not listening to me, I'm trying to advocate for myself, there are patient advocates in the hospital. They're called ombudsperson. So it used to be called ombudsman, but we have ombudsmen and ombudswomen. So we call them now ombudsperson. And so they are patient advocates. They do work at the hospital, but their main thing is to make sure that patient voices are heard. And if a medical team, for any reason, the patient feels that their voice is not heard, they can contact that office. The only thing you have to do is ask the nurse, and you can look wherever hospital you're at, look at it on their website, because there's a phone number for that. And they are patient advocates that get to the medical team to let them know their voice is heard. And the same thing also for if you're in a clinic, if it's facilitated at a hospital or facilitated university, they have that same person in that same department. If they don't have what we call an ombudsman or ombudswoman, you can also contact if there's a social worker at the hospital, because they can also help be your advocate. So there are different resources that you can do that people just don't know to make sure your voice is heard.
I had no idea about that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes.
So everybody, that is major that there are advocates at the hospital for you, because sometimes, you don't feel well. It's hard to, like, when you're like, I don't feel well, I need to get better, but I also, why am I fighting for my rights? It's a lot to do at the same time. And obviously you have impeccable, amazing bedside manner, and everybody loves you. Where does that come from? And where do you find the source for that on harder days? Because obviously nobody's life is perfect outside of their jobs, but you can't be like, I'm having a bad day, so I'm just going to go to somebody and be like, you sick. How do you find, where do you find your source? Could you imagine? You sick.
I don't know what we're going to do with you.
I don't know.
So I love that question. So doctors are humans. So I always try to remind people that doctors are humans. And so we have good days, we have bad days. I think for me, and this is me personally, the way that I get through a day is that I love what I do. So, what I do brings me joy. So, you keep enjoying. What I do brings me joy. So even when I have bad days, it's something, that happens in that day that puts a smile on my face. Because when you work with kids, they are just joy. And even kids that don't feel well, they do stuff, and then, or you see a kid that wasn't feeling well when you first started, and they feel great, and they're leaving the hospital, and you're like, wow, I contributed. So I have a lot of patience at work. And so if you ask some of my family members, so sometimes I don't have patience with my family members. I'm like, I had a long day. And then I have to apologize, like, you know what? You have to have patience at work, and you have to have patience with your family. You have to do it both. And so I have a lot of patience with my families to make sure they get the best care possible. And that's really, why I became a physician. So everybody should get the best care, no matter of your race, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, what's your income. Everyone deserves the best care possible. And that's why I went into medicine, to everyone and give them the best care. And so, you only can be yourself. You only can do 100% of your job that brings me joy, knowing that I put in every effort to give children the best care.
I love that. It's funny because you kind of segued into my next question. You grew up dancing. I see your sister on here. Hey, Garnetta. She grew up dancing. She's now a math teacher. I told y'all, they're very smart people. Actually, doesn't she like build math curriculum now?
Yes, she builds math curriculum. Shout out to Garnetta Turner.
Hey, Garnetta.
Wonderful educator. And I always told my sister, I will never forget her college graduation. So my sister went to University of Maryland, College Park. Her major was mathematics, straight mathematics. No one in our family could understand her courses. Like, we were like, oh, we just didn't understand. So when my sister graduated from college, she was the only African-American female math major at the University of her year. And she walked across that stage. We were so proud of her because she was the only one. And she decided to do math curriculum. She got her master's in education. And so now for Prince George's County Schools, she develops math curriculum for them. So.
That's amazing. She's also a part-time comedian.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Funniest person I know by far, like without any effort. She's hilarious.
She's hilarious. Actually, Garnetta, I was thinking about it today because a lot of people I know are like creating school pods. Like, you know, they don't want to send their kids back to school necessarily in LA, so they're doing like little pods of kids. And I was like, this is a great time to be sending and selling off some curriculums because parents don't know how to do curriculum. Like, it's just it's a skill. You get your master's for it. She said, book me. I'm going to text you, Garnetta, because I feel like I'm going to ask around and maybe there's some people that need that kind of help because right now I know parents are very overwhelmed, which is why I'm also happy to talk to you, Gabrina. What are some things that parents can do to keep their kids healthy, whether it's food they eat, making sure they sleep? Like, what are things that everybody can do at home to make sure their kids are healthy physically and mentally?
Oh, this is a great question. I love it, Maude. So it's so important during these times to, you know, try to stay, I always say stay sane. So I always say for kids, you want to keep them on a schedule. So when they went to school, they were on a schedule and they had activities. I said, same thing for now when we're at home all the time. For those who are able to have recess time, I always say, do recess. So you have your first period, second period, or first mod, second mod, whatever they decide to call it now. And then you should have recess time. You should have lunch time. You should have a special section, you know, in the house, and this is where the school is. But I think structure is very key because during these times, it can feel so unstructured. But if kids know, okay, today, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. Hey, shout out to Dr. Bada. She's on also.
Hi, Dr. Bada.
And my family. Oh, I see all these people now. Hey, Kelly. Hey, I'm Cheryl.
I love it. DC is coming through right now. I love it. DMV.
Yes.
Oh, this is Miss Martine. She is the mom of one of my students. She says only 2% of doctors are Black women. Black excellence.
Yeah, thank you. And I think because we're in the DC area, as you know, DC, Maryland, Virginia is mostly, well, that DC not anymore. It's mostly African. It used to be mostly African American. We were so used to seeing Black doctors. Hey, Tanisha. Hey, girl. And so we get spoiled. Like, to be honest, like my physicians, you know, were Black growing up. My pediatrician was a African American male, a Black male.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, and he inspired me to do pediatrics. Went to Howard for med school, so you know. But when you go to other areas, it's just not like that. So.
It's not like that at all. We're so lucky to like have grown up in DC, the Black excellence that we saw. So like your family, for example, right now, you know, like STEM is a buzzword, and then trying to get Black people into STEM. I feel like your family kind of pioneered that in my life. Rhonda's on here too, who is also a genius and who's going to be a guest on the MAUDCAST one day as well. But like it's a twofold question, which is interesting because I've never asked you this, and we've literally been friends for 30 years. One, your parents are like straight up like nerds, not in a bad way, but like they worked really hard. They worked like corporate jobs, you know, because your mom was math too, right? Or science?
Science. My mom was science.
Your mom was science. And what'd your dad do?
So he was in the military and then he retired. And then he also did like tile setting, construction things, but he was military.
They're so smart. So for your parents who were military science, why did they put y'all in dance? Like, why did they find that important? And then the second part to the question is, when did you know that you wanted to do medicine, but never gave up on dancing?
Key. I always tell people if I wasn't a tap dancer, I wouldn't have been a doctor. And it's always surprising.
Hold on, say that again. Say that for people in the back.
A tap dancer first, I would not have become a physician.
If I was not a tap dancer first, I would not have become a physician. Yes. I am going to pull that clip and put that thing loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Stop taking arts out of schools. Arts, you are eliminating future doctors, future lawyers, future scientists, future dancers, future actors, future everything. Mm-hmm. It's having a balance. And I think people forget that medicine is art. And so why do we take art out of schools? Makes no sense. Makes no sense. And so my mom loved dance. She actually danced as a kid and then stopped. And so she wanted to make sure that we, were also dancers. So it took her a while to find a dance school because my mom was particular about kind of what dance school. And so we started out at Peace Lutheran Dance School, which was associated with Peace Lutheran Church. And she saw them at a banquet dinner that she was at. And she was like, they were just such great dancers. Majority African-American too. And she said, I want my girl to be part of that. And so that's where we met Miss Tony, Mrs. Chalmers, Miss Dana. So these are all our dance teachers. Maud and I met through dance. And so these were all our dance teachers. And then Miss Tony later started Taxing Company. And so we didn't know how epic that was as kids until I became an adult and realized kind of what she did. And then that was like, being in DC during that time, we had Stables Art Center. So it was Taxi Company, Conquerine, DC Youth Ensemble. It was like another, that jazzercise group. And then at the bottom,
Wonder Woman,
yes, Wonder Woman. And it was a African art store on the first level. All the grants offices for art education was in that building. So it was just being surrounded by art. And my mom was smart knowing that you have to be a well-rounded person. And practicing dancing, tap dancing gave us community, lifelong friends, structure, hard work, maintaining and saying, hey, you have to practice. The way you practice is the way you perform, and that's throughout life. Life, the way you practice is the way you perform. Hello. Yes. And so that discipline I got through dance helped me, the discipline I needed to become a doctor. So I always, I would not have become a doctor without the discipline that I learned in dance.
I mean, it's incredible because, like how you said, while we were in it, we were kids, but we didn't take it for granted, but we didn't realize the magnitude of what Miss Tony had built with Miss Dana. And when I think about how old they were, how young they were, and they taught us how to be women. And obviously, my mom is white, and we were growing up in DC, which was predominantly Black, but I'm so thankful that our mom knew the importance to be around Black women so that we could feel empowered as Black women. And in a funny note, did you know that Miss Patrice thought that our mom was Black until 7 years ago?
Because your mother is so down and she understands. She gets it.
Miss Patrice told her, I just thought she was high yellow, Barbara, this whole time. Took 25 years. Thought my mom was a light-skinned Black woman. I mean, it's amazing. And to everybody listening today, what Taps and Company was like, it was a dance school, but it was a family in every sense of the word. I just did a interview for a dance magazine, and it was all about like, what did dance give you as a Black woman? And I was like, it gave me my Black mentors, my Black sister friends, my Black teachers. This is how we also got to see Black excellence pulled around us, because like our financial situation was terrible, but we were on scholarship. But then we got to meet people like your mom, like scientist, Rashida's mom, lawyer, like, wow, this exists. I can do anything. Business owner, Miss Tony and Miss Dana, business owners who were Black women. And like you said, and everybody at Stables Art Center. Wanda Woman had like 100 people in those classes back to back every day.
Every day.
She must have made $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was all these Black-owned businesses, it was all these Black young entrepreneurs that were in the arts. And you don't see that. And I think, I always say I grew up when I was supposed to grow up in the place that I, was supposed to, grow up. And I don't know if you saw Rashida's, her thing for her documentary about Black daughters. And
yes, it was so beautiful.
And what she was saying, yeah, like when, like, growing up in DC, you felt love as a Black child. You didn't realize it was just, the areas that you were in. It was just, I loved growing up in this area. And you saw a whole bunch of Black excellence. So when I went to places where I was the only one that looked like myself, I had the confidence. I knew my self-worth. I knew, what I could bring to the table. So when I was at the table, I had no fear.
Because when you went to UPenn, how many Black people were in your classes at the University of Pennsylvania when you were a student?
Like no one. So especially as a science major, so I majored in biology. And so,
whoa.
Yes. So straight up biology, I like science, I like lab work. So I would be like the only one, or it'd be two of us, and there'd be a class over 100 people. And so in medicine, it's always like that in the beginning when you pursue, it's about perseverance, because they weed people out. So a whole bunch of people start off doing pre-med, and the way they make the process, I'm not sure why everything has to be like a without process. Like, I guess they just want to make sure you really want to do this. They make it tough. And so, especially as a African-American woman at a predominantly white Ivy League school, the key thing I got from UPenn was my friendships that I have still to this day. And I actually started a tap company at University of Pennsylvania that is still there, called Soundworks Tap Factory.
So tell us about the tap company, and tell us why you started it, how you started it, and what year, because then they just celebrated an anniversary.
Yes. So this is like my proudest college moment, because it was hard, being, at University of Pennsylvania sometimes, because none of my friends were science majors. They were different type of majors. I had communications major, engineering, a couple of business, but I was the only science major. And you'll be in classes. I remember one of my theology classes that we had to take, where students would tell you basically you're taking spots from the white kids. Like, I was in a class and a student said that. It was like, basically, I didn't deserve to be here, even though I worked my butt off. And I was taking.
Oh, some kid when I got into Columbia was like, you can thank affirmative action. Some white kid when I was in high school, and I said, actually, your mom can thank. Yeah. I said, your mom can thank affirmative action. I said it actually helps more white women than Black women.
Correct.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I had that one too. Heard that one,
like heard it all before.
Yeah, I'm like, you hear it, and it was just kind of just like insane. And I realized, like, people, like, I've been around a diverse group of people, and not everybody has been around a diverse group of people, and so it makes them uncomfortable. But you just have to be uncomfortable because I'm here.
I'm here to stay. I'm going to be your boss.
Yes. And so I wanted an outlet. I needed an outlet for joy. And University of Pennsylvania had many singer groups. As you know, John Legend went to my college. And so he was part of one of the a cappella groups. And so there was a whole bunch of a cappella groups, but not that many dance groups. And there was no tap dancing group. And I was just like, you know, we have to have a tap dancing group. And so happens it was a person who was trying to start one, and she was, you know, she was like a sophomore and junior trying to start a tap group. You have to go through these different processes. So I was like, and she left, and so I was like, we should really do a tap group. So she ended up tap dancing. We ended up tap dancing with this other group, but it wasn't our own group. So when she left, me and another student, and she ended up becoming a doctor also, a pediatrician. She's a NICU doctor, a neonatal doctor.
Aww.
Her name was Renee. We were like, we should start a tap group. Yeah, we're going to start a tap group. And so my junior year started, you have to go through all these policies for college to start a group. I know. But we did it. And then in 2001, we started Sour Taps Factory. And it's now 2020. And they still have that tap company. And Renee and our names are the founders of that.
That's amazing, Gabrina.
Contribution to UPenn.
And Tanisha said that's legacy building. And I think that that's so amazing to hear for everybody, whether you're young or old. My takeaway from that is you don't need necessarily the $1 million to donate to the branch of the UPenn library to have that legacy. It's like, you created something and it was so good that it is sustained for 20 years, which is amazing. And it also shows how important and needed that outlet is for the students on campus to be dancing, you know, after their biology class or whatever, because it is stressful. Like Ivy League college is a big workload. And then you also have your social, the good social, and then the bad social, because people are closed-minded and don't want you there because they feel like threatened by you. And so it's amazing that you've had dance. And so after you graduated from Penn, what happened? What was the next step in your journey to becoming a doctor?
So I went to Howard Medical School. Shout out to HU, you know. And I picked Howard because everyone always asks me, which I'm like, I picked the school I wanted to go to. Why did I go from an Ivy League school to an HBCU? Because, you know, that's what I wanted to do.
I call that balance.
Yeah, and it's balance. And I love the mission of Howard. It was Howard Hospital was there. It used to be called Freeman's Hospital. And it was there. It was a place where anyone, no matter your race, because, you know, during that time, Black people couldn't go to a lot of hospitals in D.C. So you had to be a free man or different. So Howard was a place where anybody, no matter what, you know, would be able to go to medical school. Howard was one of the first schools that accepted women. You know, women weren't accepted to medical schools back then. And so I went to Howard because they served the underserved community. And I know that was community that I wanted to serve. I want everyone to get that, you know, equal care. And so Howard really, you know, my clinical skills, when people ask, it came from my third and fourth year of Howard. The physician there was just great educators. And they made sure that when we went out to our residency, went out to the world, we were going to know how to practice medicine. So
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you think in your journey to becoming a doctor? And Leah said, what advice do you have to inspire and motivate us to keep going? So this kind of, in your medical journey, because to become a doctor takes a long time, like 8 years, right? It was a school?
Yes, so 8 years, sometimes longer, things happen. So it takes a long time.
So during that, what did you find the most challenging part? Was it the residency? Was it school? Like, what was the most, and how did you keep going when it was like super challenging? Because I hear it's like stupid exhausting, like where it's like you're not sleeping at all.
So they've been doing stuff to regulate. So when I think residency probably was the hardest for me. And Dr. Bada, it goes fast. It really does go fast. So I always say, what do you want to do in life? Whatever you want to do in life, it's going to take 10 to 20 years for you to be an expert. Look at like you and Chloe. That success didn't happen overnight. Y'all have been right. From 4, probably before 4, when you got out your mama. I've been working hard your entire life. So, people see all your success now, which is, I'm so proud of you. I know you're interviewing me, but I just have to say so proud.
Thank you.
But they, that was a lot of hard work and dedication. So they don't see the background of how hard you work to get where you are now. It was no overnight. It was, doing that. So like anything, and I tell kids, anything you want to do, just don't look at the finished product. When you look at those NBA players or those actors or actresses that made it, they sacrificed a lot and they worked hard. So anything that's worth it, you're going to have failures, and you're going to work hard. But anytime, I don't even call it failures anymore, because the right yes, it happens at the right time. So
hold on. The right yes happens at the right time.
Right.
Yes.
Time. And so when things don't happen the way it's supposed to happen, I'm like, okay, you know what? We're going to just keep moving, and this just wasn't the right time for me right now. And that's the way I persevere. And I think for me, I knew I wanted to be a physician. What type of physician, I didn't know at the time, but I knew I wanted to help people, and I wanted to be a healer. I really wanted to heal people. And so that, kind of kept me going when I, and I think it was the moment I got to residency, because I prayed so hard. Like, I finally graduated from medical school, which I thought was hard, and then you threw me in residency, and I was like, what is this? Because I'm working 80 hours plus. This was in New York.
I remember on 14th Street.
Yes. 80 hours a week. It was crazy, but it wasn't for a lifetime. It was for a period of time. And I always tell Kelly, and she laughed, I said, at one point I was tired all the time. I always worked. And I said, you know what? I can be tired and sitting in my house, or I can be tired and having a good time. So that's when I decided, you can take me out, and I love you for that too. Like, we were going to go out and we could have a ball. And so now they have better regulations on resident work hours. So it's not like when I was in residency. They do have a little bit better regulation, so it's a little bit more balanced. But, I always say, don't give up what brings you joy. And I remember residency, I gave up tap dancing because I was like, oh, but then I started tap dancing. So I should not have given up something that gave me joy.
I love that. That's amazing, Gabrina. And everybody listening here, I told Gabrina I was gonna say this publicly to hold her accountable. I'm like, what is the word? I want Gabrina to start a YouTube channel that gives people advice about health and advocacy and medicine and all the things. So if you want Gabrina to start that, please put in the chat, starting Gabrina.
I know, accountability.
Accountability is important. But it's also things that, like, one, I know you'll love to do it. Two, it's so needed. Like, for example, I didn't know until 20 minutes ago about the advocates at the hospital.
Yeah.
Tanisha said, we waiting. Rhonda said, start it up. And then, everybody in the chat too, I would like to say, Rhonda, I need you to start one too. Tanisha, I need you to start one too. Friends, let me just brag on my friends real quick. They're the greatest. I feel like I should start like a social media app of like, this is who you want to be like when you grow up. Oh, they're all my friends. Rhonda is a genius in all things engineering and helping save the world and the planet. And Tanisha is cybersecurity genius saving America. So I just have to say, there's so much to be shared, and I feel so lucky because we go to dinner because y'all are my homegirls, and we talk about, life from the goods and the bads to the work to the men, which is so important for all of us. But I take it for granted that I can call Gabrina and be like, Gabrina, my eczema is flaring up. I'm going to send you a photo of it. What do I do? Like a lot of people don't have those resources, and I think a lot of kids, it's like you can't be what you don't see. And like for Tanisha, who's on the chat, like cybersecurity, when I met her, I just thought she was like hella cool and hella fly and really nice. And then I'm like, oh, you're also a genius. Oh, okay. I see how this works. Okay. I got it. But
Olivia Pope
A real life Olivia Pope.
Yeah,
I'll handle it. It's handled. It's handled. So I feel like, so Gabrina, I want you to start that, please. And what you said, key, and somebody wrote it here, is don't give up the things that bring you joy. And I think that that is so important for all of us, you know, during harder times, because people try to steal your joy, whether it be on purpose or unintentional. But like Lauren Hill had said, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And so sometimes people might not try to act like they're trying to steal your joy, but they are. And I think that it's so important for us to all to recognize that. So like Gabrina didn't allow work or the responsibilities of work to steal her joy. She still made time to tap dance. What other kinds of things do you do that bring you joy? I know a lot of them, but I want everybody else to know.
I know, like, I know what brings me joy. So
I know, but you know, I can't give away the interview.
I know. So my friends and family brings me so much joy. And so I say that because I think, you know, who you surround yourself with and what energy they are bringing can bring you up or bring you down. And so you also have this gift. I feel like you know kind of how to surround yourself with people that bring you joy. And so I have been around people with this great energy, positive people, you know, my entire life. And so I don't know how, intuition, let's say intuition, you know, I'm able to, you know, take out people who just didn't, and not literally take out.
Take them out.
But, you know, separate myself from people in my life who, you know, were not positive influence. And so a circle, I think, Teenage put it, is so powerful. Like, you want to be around people that make you be a better person. And so for us, it was great. We were always surrounded by people who made, you know, us want to be better people. You know, we inspire each other. We are our biggest cheerleader. Like, if I do something, you know, my friends are like my biggest. If I'm down, you know, Mon and I just talked. It's been a tough time for me. And so whenever everything going on, I'm like venting. She's like, girl, no, go ahead and vent. I'm like, all the stuff that is going on. And, you know, you need that support system. So when people, you know, tell me they, you know, don't have good friends are key. I was like, I don't know how people survive without them. Good friends are key. I was like, I have no idea, because I wouldn't know what to do with my good friends. My faith is big to me. You know, I did not get here alone. It took a whole community. My village was strong. I have a strong village. I have a strong village in my family. I have a strong village in my friends. And, you know, I always have my family support, no matter what. My family always wanted the best for me. And I did not realize until I became a pediatrician how that is not the norm for everyone.
Wow. Oh, hi, Apion. Apion said facts.
Oh, thank you.
So can you tell us about that? When you became a pediatrician, you didn't realize, because what were you seeing?
Yeah, so as a pediatrician, I see everything. And so as a hospitalist, again, I take care of kids at hospital. And unfortunately, not everybody loves kids, and not everybody treats kids appropriately. So I've seen child abuse cases, all different types of things.
Girl, I'm getting teary-eyed listening to you. You know how much I love kids.
I know, but you know, you don't realize that, because when you grow up around love, not all kids grow up around love. And so that to me is so important. And you kind of take a step back. And what I would say during COVID times, I am thankful. It's okay. Don't cry. I'm thankful for simple things in life, because we take advantage, eyes that we can see, lungs for breathing, a mouth, listening, hearing, just the common senses. And not everyone has that. And so every day we wake up is the day that we are supposed to be here, and the day that we are living our truth. And it's the day that we continue on the correct path. And so not everybody gets a chance to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not everyone is loving and nice. So don't take those things for granted. And I think, when I became a pediatrician, I was like, God, I was surrounded by love my entire life. And, not everyone has that. And so don't take it for granted. And then you show, when people aren't surrounded by love, you show them love because so they know what it is.
And I think that's why, sorry I'm crying, guys, because what's been really heavy on my heart is kids at home who are like abused.
Yeah. And we have seen
during Corona,
Yeah, it's more abuse, and the abuse is worse during this coronavirus.
Yeah.
So when, this whole thing about taking kids back to school, we're not even going to get into that. That's a whole nother,
I know, we have 9 minutes left.
Whole nother podcast. Whole nother podcast. But things we think about as pediatricians are like the kids who don't have food at home.
Yes.
Or the kids that are abused at home. And so school is an outlet. So I always say, parent to me is the hardest job on earth, being a parent.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest job on earth for anyone. So I always bless all parents because you have the hardest job on earth. But teachers, I think, maybe second because they really mold kids.
Teachers mobilize.
Yes, I mean, in education and dance teachers, our dance teacher really affected our lives. Like,
our dance teachers saved our lives, and because during this time, I talked to my students a lot, which is obviously I wasn't expecting to cry on the MAUDCAST because it's joyful, but it's been it's tears of both heartbreak, but also gratitude because we're so lucky and we grew up not abused and having people that loved us, so we knew the love that we deserve. Right. But I've really been thinking a lot about kids who don't have food at home and rely on school, and their teachers are the only loving adults in their lives.
Yeah, yeah.
And kids are having a hard time right now,
Yeah. Yes. And I always say there's a lot of resources. One outlet I always say is the pediatrician. If you can get to your pediatrician, talk to them, because there's a lot of resources, community resources that are happening that your pediatrician office may know about, and also schools. So even though schools are open, school offices can be open. So you can go to school for resources to help during this difficult time. No one should be alone during this time. No one should be alone. This is not the time to be alone. You want to be in a safe place.
Yes.
Social distancing and around people that love, even if it's through a Zoom, FaceTime, talk to your friends and family. We're seeing a lot of depression during this time.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I said, a lot of abuse because it's this hard time for everyone. And so people, are not handling it appropriately. And seek out resources. I know Taraji Houston has free mental health resources.
Yes.
There's a lot of communities doing mental health resources. Seek it out. And there are also hotlines you can call. The suicide hotline, mental health hotline. So use them. Use the resources that are out there.
No, I think it's so important because I think often I'm so lucky because I'm surrounded by. Chloe and I are next door neighbors. She gets on my nerves, but I'm thankful. I'm thankful because I'm not alone. I would not have survived this alone. As bright as I am, as high as my spirit runs, if I had to do this alone, I don't know if I would have made it out on the other side. And having known that, as strong of a person as I am, as happy as a person I am, it's I can't imagine people who don't have a healthy home, which is also why I wanted to start the MAUDCAST, because I was hopefully this can bring some joy and knowledge and inspiration into people's homes while, we're all at home. Because I learned a lot today talking to you, and I've known you for 30 years. But I feel there's just so much more to learn, which is why you have to start your YouTube.
She's gonna make me. So if you know anything about Maud, Like, she's gonna make you do it. She's gonna like, look, you keep saying, you know, off camera, we've been talking about this. I was talking to her about this, and she was like, you really need to do it. So her and my sister have kind of been on me. But you know, life gets busy and crazy, but I need to focus and like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna sit down and just do it.
Because really, I also think it's because you know so much, it feels overwhelming. The reality is that us non-doctor people need baby steps. So it's almost like you're starting at toe heel. Think about it like that. You're starting at toe heel with the information. You're not starting it at some big word that we don't know because we don't know the medical field. You know, and you love it. So it's like easy. It's like free flowing, and I'm very excited about it. I'm also, one of the other things that Gabrina does every year is this fabulous Christmas Eve party, which brings me so much joy. And this year we're going to be masked.
Yes, we are still, I'm still having a Christmas Eve party. We're going to have some regulations because, you know, I'm a physician. So everyone will have their mask. I'm going to open up the rooftop so people could be outside and social distance. Who knows how the weather's going to be.
You know, you could probably rent a gas heater.
I don't think I can because of the type of house I have. Or I can put it on like the inside. So I'm gonna figure it out. But we will be having a social distance Christmas party. My Christmas party will not go anywhere because that Christmas party brings me joy also.
I love it. And I have to say this, Gabrina and my mom said her phone died, but she'll be rewatching. My mom, you're one of my mom's favorite people in the world. My mom always says, Gabrina knows how to live her life. And Chloe says that too. Chloe's like, Gabrina knows how to live life. You surround yourself with your friends. You surround yourself with beautiful things. And I don't mean beautiful things like in an expensive way, kids. I mean things that make the beauty shine out to her, that make her happy. Because you have to create these oases in our own personal lives. And you travel and you do the things that make you happy. And I think that just the way that you lead your life on a daily, I think is the perfect example of joyful living.
Aww.
While also being productive. You know what I mean? Like, you're not just like gallivanting around. You're doing the things that ground you, but then the things that ground you in joy. And I think that it's so important. So for my flash questions, which are my fast questions, because we only have 2 minutes before Instagram cuts us off, I ask you a quick question and then you tell me what you think.
Okay.
What city brings you joy?
So my favorite place on earth is in Anguilla.
Oh, I love Anguilla.
So beautiful. And you know, we're banned there right now. We're a band from Anguilla.
I know.
So, but it's just so peaceful and beautiful. Me and my best friend Kelly went to Anguilla for one of my birthdays and literally spent 9 hours on the beach doing nothing.
Anguilla is
like absolutely
peace.
nothing.
Anguilla is so
not
peaceful.
Realize it.
Okay, what food brings you joy?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I'm going to just go with dessert. If anybody knows me, my sweet tooth. Shout out Dr. Ivory. My sweet tooth is bad. I'm getting better during quarantine. I am really I eat less of the sweetness, but I do have a bad sweet tooth. So
I'm not getting better. I definitely had a brownie yesterday. What designer brings you joy?
You already know this answer. Chanel.
You guys, Dr. Gabrina loves Chanel. Now, I have a pair of Chanel earrings. They are bootleg Chanel earrings. I'm very proud of my $20 bootleg Chanel earrings. Here's what I'm most proud of. When I showed Dr. Gabrina and Dr. Ivory, they thought they were fierce and didn't know they were fake. Hello.
Hello. Yes.
I would have worn my Chanel earrings, but they were they're in New York.
Because you're fierce. I think it's not, to me, it's not the brand, but it's the person wearing it. How do they exude? So it's never the brand. Because, you know, I would do a high-low. I would have a white little Target t-shirt.
Hello.
And a nice Chanel bag. You do
high-low.
Yes.
High-low. Well, before we go, because Instagram will cut us off, thank you so much, Gabrina, for doing this with me. Thank you for teaching me so much. Thank you for sharing so graciously with everybody watching. Everybody follow Gabrina because her YouTube show is going to be starting soon. And think about questions that you want to know as parents, as young people, as adults. Inbox her your questions because that will also help fuel the series. But thank you so much, Gabrina, for your time. I know it's very precious. Do you have any last words you want to tell the people?
I want to thank everyone for coming. Please inbox me your questions because Maud is going to be on me about this YouTube, so I have to get it together. And thank you, Maud, for doing this MAUDCAST. I love you. You already know how much I love you. You're such a beautiful person. And this is so great. And I know the kids love it. So thank you all for listening to me talk. And spread love. And, you know, be safe out there, everyone. Wear a mask. Be safe.
Thank you so much, Gabrina. Thank you for saving lives and for saving our future and our little babies. And it gives me solace knowing that there's doctors like you who help the kids who don't have the help at home, which is why I cried like a baby because I think about them so much.
Virtual hugs.
Virtual hug, Gabrina. I'll be back in DC in November. Holla!
Yes! I'll be
Love you. Thank you so much. Have a modified week, everybody. Love you all. Bye.